They say every day is for the thief, one day for the owner of the house. But ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission, has reversed the role. It is now every day for the owner of the house. If you're involved in bribery, over-invoicing, or any shady deal, the day of reckoning has come. ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission, is watching you. If you're reported for any corrupt practice, you'll be investigated, prosecuted, and punished. Corruption is harmful to our nation. Join the campaign against it by reporting any corrupt practice to ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission.
Let we join hands with ICPC, make them better. Let's make Nigeria great again.
In its bid at ensuring satisfactory execution of all zonal intervention projects, ZIP, also called constituency projects across Nigeria, in order to obtain value for money released, improve delivery of social welfare services to citizenry, increase recovery of public funds, and take development closer to the people, thereby diminishing poverty and leading to the achievement of Sustainable Development Goals SDGs. ICPC in 2019 introduced the Constituency Project Tracking Group CPTG initiative. To actualize this initiative, ICPC set up a steering committee comprising of both state and non-state actors, such as the Nigerian Institute of Quantity Surveyors, Budget Office of the Federation, Office of the Accountant General of the Federation, Bureau of Public Procurement, Budget, Premium Times Center for Investigative Journalism, International Center for Investigative Reporting, and Public-Private Development Center, amongst others, to coordinate the activities of CPTG. The first phase of the tracking exercise covered 12 states, 2 in each of the 6 geopolitical zones, namely Kano, Sokoto, Bauchi, Adamawa, Kogi, Benue, Lagos, Osun, Enugu, Imo, Akwa Ibom, and Edo states. This pilot phase had led to the recoveries and savings of billions of naira in cash and assets for government. Following the remarkable success recorded in the first phase, the second phase of the exercise was therefore redesigned and renamed Constituency and Executive Project Tracking Initiative, CEPTI. Today on the program, we shall beam our searchlight on the second phase of the Constituency and Executive Project Tracking Initiative. Welcome to Corruption Must Go, ICPC's weekly television program. I am your host, Murna Barnabas Atiai. But first, Joy is standing by with updates on happenings around the world of the Commission. Over to you, Joy.
Hello viewers, thank you for joining us. I am Joy Aja with Anti-Corruption Stories. A member of the House of Representatives, Honorable Oguma Johnson Egwayide, has been charged to court by ICPC for collecting 1.6 million naira bribe from 3 contractors. ICPC, in a 4-count charge filed before Justice Adebukola Banjoko of the High Court of the Federal Capital Territory, Jabi, said the member, who represents Esako East West Central Federal Constituency, Edo State, in the National Assembly, allegedly collected kickbacks from contractors handling school projects in the state. The charge sheet revealed that Egwayide, who had sponsored the construction of 1 block of 3 classrooms at Fuga Mixed Secondary School, Esako Central Local Government Area, as part of his constituency project in 2018, demanded for kickbacks of 10% from the 16.5 million naira contract sum. He was alleged to have then collected 1.6 million naira from Fiola Ventures Nigeria Limited, the company handling the project, as bribe after the award of the contract by the Federal Ministry of Works and Housing. The Commission told the court that his actions amounted to receipt of gratification and abuse of office in violations of Sections 10 and 19 of the Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Act 2000. Honorable Egwayide pleaded not guilty when the charge was read to him. His counsel, Samuel Sibiri SAN, prayed the court to grant him bail on self-recognizance. The prayer was not opposed by ICPC lawyer Adeshina Rahim, who however pleaded with the court to grant the accused bail in such terms that would effectively secure his attendance in court. The trial judge consequently admitted him to bail in the sum of 20 million naira with 2 sureties in like sum. The sureties must be residents of Federal Capital Territory Abuja and should be gainfully employed, the court said. Further conditions of the bail demanded that the sureties must submit 2 passport photographs with the court registrar, as well as provide evidence of tax clearance for the last 3 years. The accused was later granted bail after fulfilling the bail conditions, and the matter was adjourned for trial. The chairman of ICPC, Professor Bolaji Owasonye, has called on lawyers to live up to their calling as important stakeholders in the fight against corruption. Owasonye made this call when he played host to the chairman of the Nigerian Bar Association Gwagwalada chapter, Barrister Isa Aliyu, and his team at the commission's headquarters recently. The ICPC boss said that when lawyers weave civil matters into crime and send to anti-corruption agencies in order to get quick justice, they contribute to the rot in the society.
So I will be very delighted that this new executive, you will charge your members that we should desist from asking anti-corruption agencies and the police to take on matters that are purely civil, and that we should work very actively to improve the civil and criminal justice system, because it is in our interest to do so. Many years ago, I cannot even remember when now, I was guest speaker during the new legal year ceremonies in Lagos. I think it was under Justice, maybe I retired, I cannot remember. And I chose to speak on fast-tracking justice. Because we all say justice delayed is justice denied. As far as I can see, the people who delay justice, there is nobody, it's not the litigants, it's the lawyers who delay justice. So I tried to explain about different measures that could be taken to fast-track justice, including using technology, using alternative dispute systems, using the settlement of issues provisions in the rules.
Earlier in his remarks, Isa Aliyu said the current leadership of the Gwagwalada branch of the NBA, which he leads, came into power in June 2020 and were in the commission to explore possible areas of collaboration with ICPC. That will be all on this segment. Corruption Must Go continues with Muruna. Stay with us.
If you're just tuning in, this is Corruption Must Go, and the focus is on the second phase of the Constituency and Executive Projects Tracking Initiative. The first phase of the exercise did not only generate interests from the public who expressed shock at the brazenness with which their representatives misappropriate funds meant for their well-being. It also created awareness on the need for citizens to demand for transparency and accountability from public office holders. This awareness, too, has stimulated public interest in volunteering information on other hidden constituency projects. Building on the success recorded during Phase 1 of the CEPTI, the scope of the second phase was expanded to include executive projects. CPTI Phase 2 was conceived to track projects captured in the core mandate of ministries, departments and agencies and zonal intervention projects. Let us find out how the exercise is faring.
The tracking exercise for this second phase is being done in 16 states of the Federation, in all the 6 geopolitical zones. And the scope of this tracking exercise extends to health, water resources, education, agriculture, and power sector. When we did the first phase, it was restricted to only constituency projects. But because of the awareness and the impact of that first phase, we now extended it to executive projects. So it includes executive project now. We call it constituency and executive project tracking exercise. Now we selected 833 projects, 269 executive and 564 constituency projects. So that's what we have been able to track in this second phase. There are so many things we found out on the field. The first thing is that we saw that contracts were being executed by sponsors of the project. When I say sponsor, what I mean is that the legislators who embed the project in MDAs, we found out that some of them are still using their company or their cronies company to execute the projects. That is one. The second one is that we found out that there is no what we call needs assessment. They just go and execute a project. They don't know whether the community or the local government needs such projects, such that sometimes you find two projects of from the same sector in a community, and government must have expended money on both and they are not being used. Another one is what we call abuse of office. We also have conversion of public projects to personal use. We have land tripping of projects. I can explain that. A legislator could have embedded a project in one MDA for a year, let's say in 2018. The project will be bought, the materials will be bought, and they will now keep, instead of distributing to the communities, to the constituents, they will keep it. The following year, they will now take the project again, embed it in another MDA for execution. So when that happens, they take the money for that year, they now use what they had hoarded, the project, the materials they have hoarded for 2018 and distribute 2019. That is what we call a round tripping. There is contract over invoicing. In almost all the projects we track, there is that tinge of over invoicing on the projects. A project that is not supposed to be more than maybe 200 million, you see it being awarded at maybe 300 or 400 million. So that means that procurement issues are also part of the problem. When they don't go through the procurement processes, that means that that's another type of corruption. Then there is collusion between the aides of legislators and some MDAs. For example, we have a situation whereby in the bill of quantity where, okay, this is what we are supposed to buy, this is what we are supposed to procure. You are supposed to procure butterfly machine. Eventually, when the project is now being executed, they bought bodyfly. Bodyfly is an inferior machine. So bodyfly is maybe around 20,000, while butterfly is 50,000. You can see what has happened. Instead of buying a material for 50,000, you are buying a lower grade for 20,000. Then you pocket all the difference. The last one is what we call lack of synergy between the outgoing legislator and the incoming legislator. Sometimes an outgoing legislator will have embedded projects in an MDA, but fortunately or unfortunately, it loses an election. Another one will now come, and that one that now comes will not want to execute that project. And money must have been spent by government to procure most of the maybe empowerment projects. We had one in Katsina. The outgoing or the outgone legislator procured over 2,000 fertilizers. But because he lost election, he wasn't ready to engage again. when the new legislator came in, he was not aware of that. It was during this tracking that we got to know that, okay, there were some bags of fertilizer somewhere in Katsina, and we invited the MDAs concerned. They informed us that, okay, this was what happened. So we quickly invited the new legislators, and he came, and eventually we had it distributed under the supervision of our ICPC officials and the trackers on the field.
Welcome back. One of the positives of the first phase of the exercise is that contractors who hitherto had abandoned projects or executed projects shoddily have mobilized back to sites to either complete such projects or ensure their excellent execution. The same is being experienced in the second phase. Mr. Harvis tells us more about all the outcome of the exercise and next steps the Commission is taking.
Resulting from the findings, certain outcomes came up, which were like the recoveries that were made. The Commission made recoveries both in terms of cash and assets to the tune of hundreds of millions. Like our cash recovery as at last month was up to over 217 million naira, and then the recoveries in assets is to the tune of about 2.5 billion, and of course savings to government was also one of the outcomes of the findings from the exercise. And then one of the most significant findings again is the fact that some contractors were forced back to site to finish projects they abandoned or to remedy some defects that were observed in the execution of the projects. As at September, we've had over 60 runaway contractors that were forced back to site. Meanwhile, the exercise is still ongoing. The phase 2 is still ongoing. So by the end of the exercise, phase 2, I'm sure we'll have nothing less than 300 to 400 contractors being forced back to site to either finish uncompleted projects or to remedy observed defects. And one of the most significant outcome of the findings is actually the remarkable improvement in the process, procedures, and the execution of constituency projects by the implementing agencies. Resulting from what happened in phase 1, our findings during phase 1, a lot of implementing agencies have actually improved their processes in tune with the recommendations of the Commission. And of course, one of the significant outcomes of the findings again is the policy advisory that the Commission prepared and shared with the government, which government was very happy with, and the National Assembly as well. And it also opened a window for serious engagement between the Commission and the National Assembly, whereby the National Assembly has come to really appreciate the work we've been doing, to the extent that a lot of the petitions that we're dealing with today actually come from members of the National Assembly. And of course, one other outcome of the findings is the fact that in some cases, we, in conjunction with the Office of the Head of Service of the Federation, apply administrative sanctions against some little erring infractions committed by civil servants. So those were really fantastic outcomes that came out of the findings of CEPTG phase 1 and 2 together, but particularly phase 2. And so it's remarkable achievements there. Those that have been found to have committed infractions will certainly be prosecuted. Phase 2 is still ongoing. We have not finished it. An interim report is in the public domain already, but by the time we conclude it, which likely in a month or 2 time, quite a lot of people will go to jail, or they'll be prosecuted anyway. So it's the court that determines who goes to jail, who does not. But the Commission will prosecute quite a lot of people that are found to have committed some infractions against the ICPC Act. For the first 2, the first challenge was the restriction imposed by COVID-19. when we were about starting, COVID-19 came, so we had to suspend, and then even when we rolled out in June, there were still a bit of restrictions, and so it slowed down our the speed of the exercise and the efficiency of the exercise. Another challenge is sometimes non-cooperative attitude of a few members of sponsors of the projects, as well as the implementing agency, and security challenges, of course, in some environment. If you are tracking projects in places like, say, Borno or deep into Katsina State, the banditry there in Borno State, the Boko Haram debacles are still there. So these are some of the major challenges that we have faced in our tracking activities.
It is important to note that in spite of some breaches still discovered in Phase 2 CEPTI, comparative analysis of the two phases indicates remarkable procedural and process improvement, higher percentages of projects completed and executed to specification, and significant reduction in the number of infractions. In fact, sponsors, MDAs and contractors are aware that there is now a watchdog and business is no longer as usual.
Fellow Nigerians, do you know that constituency projects are actually your projects? Do you know that constituency projects are funded by the federal government? Do you know that you can track release of constituency project funds for projects located in your constituency and follow up to know how they have been executed? Constituency projects happen because government does not want to leave any community out in development efforts. You have a responsibility to know what constituency project has been planned for your community, how much has been allocated for it, and whether value for money has been delivered. Take ownership of constituency projects located in your community. Protect them because they belong to you. Government knows about your needs and is planning for you. Government needs your help to ensure quality delivery. Know that constituency projects are actually your projects. Protect your constituency project. My constituency, my project.
For information on funds allocated to projects in your constituency, call 0800-2255-4272.
This message is from the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission and the National Orientation Agency.
The attention of the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission (ICPC) has been drawn to the act of some unscrupulous persons who illegally and fraudulently extort money from unsuspecting Nigerians to obtain a so-called clearance certificate from the Commission. ICPC would like to clearly state that it does not have nor does it issue certificate of clearance, and therefore it does not charge fees for any such certificates. Members of the public are hereby warned to be careful and suspicious of any request for payment of clearance fees and offers of procuring a certificate of clearance. Report any such to ICPC by email on info@icpc.gov.ng. Our toll-free number 0800 2255 4272 or any of the social media platforms showing on the screen.
That's our package on today's edition. Remember, you can make enquiries and suggestions via our toll-free numbers as shown on the screen. You can also watch the program on our YouTube channel, www.youtube.com/ICPC Nigeria. I am Murna Barnabas Atiai. Bye for now.